Well, Amazon is determined to implement AI into their organization, but it's just not always a smooth process. And quite frankly, not everyone at the company is too happy about it. And we're going to talk about it today because a few days ago, Amazon experienced a massive outage that lasted nearly 6 hours and cost them over 120,000 orders. And not only that, this is particularly bad as Amazon Cloud Services is in a war against Google and other companies to land these big accounts. And when your platform is not stable, that is a big deal. Now, this was originally blamed on, quote, faulty software code development, but a recent leaked memo reports the problem was more tied to, quote, generative AI assisted changes, end quote. And these were made with these tools, Amazon Q and Cairo. And a couple months ago, back in December, a bunch of software engineers, developers at Amazon were saying, we don't want to use Cairo, we don't want the internal tool, we want to use Claude. But Amazon decided we're going to double down on Cairo, we want our own internal tool. And we'll talk a little bit more about that here in a moment, because I think this is important when it comes to alignment between leadership at a company and the employees at the company. And we'll cover that in just a moment. The reality, though, guys, is that a lot of the employees at Amazon are not happy. And I was reading an article in The Guardian, and they're basically interviewing a bunch of people at Amazon and doing a bit of a struggle session. And I'm not typically a huge fan of The Guardian, but I think there were some quotes there that are really interesting. Because again, the reality is that Amazon is really pushing AI. And I read all your comments, guys, and I know some of you aren't excited about it. I know some of you are excited about it. You're building cool stuff. I'm talking to guys, in the SaaS companies that I work with, they're using AI to write code, typically using Claude. But I know not everyone's happy about it. And I think it's important that we just dig a little bit deeper into this topic because it's important. So one of the people, and by the way, at Amazon, their aim is that 80% of their developers are actively using Cairo. That's 4 out of 5 if you have trouble doing math, which I know that subscribers of this channel do not have that problem because you're like in the top 10% of intelligence. But regardless, I do, by the way, I do like that, when I'm reading comments on my videos and our videos and other channels, like the quality of the commentary on our videos is very high. So I really appreciate that we have an intelligent audience. So you can give yourself a like for that. Smash your own like button or whatever. Smash my like button, doesn't really matter. Anyway, respect to you for watching videos, these types of videos. Anyway, I want to kind of dive into what's happening at Amazon because I think this is really important, not just to see like what's happening there, but what's kind of coming to all organizations. So The Guardian does have a report where they're interviewing this guy, Denny, which is an anonymous name, but Denny is a software engineer and he works in the retail space at the company. And he says, quote, if we don't pivot, then we risk becoming obsolete and being let go in the next layoff, end quote. And by the way, totally agree with Denny. If you're not on board with the tools that your organization is pumping, you're not going to be a fit there. And this is especially true at Amazon. We've been covering the layoffs there. They just laid off 30,000 corporate employees. I'll post a link to the video here. We covered it in detail. And by the way, again, these are not just Amazon delivery drivers or people working in warehouses. These are corporate white-collar employees, college-educated, very intelligent, software programmers, developers, engineers, coders, etc. Gone, let go. So I agree with what Denny's saying here. They also interview another software developer at the company that is very upset with Cairo, which again is their own AI tool that they use for writing code. And she is not happy with it at all. She complains that the frequency of hallucinations and flawed code is out of control. She says, quote, I'm trying to AI my way out of a problem that AI caused. She's very aggravated that she has to use AI. She doesn't want to use it. More on that in a moment. Let's go back to software developer Denny here. He has another good quote. He says, quote, in the end, my guess is that the developer cycle is not going to change and could even be potentially longer. This pressure to use AI has resulted in worse quality code, but also just more work for everyone. So what these guys are saying basically And again, I'm not a software developer. I don't write code. I mean, I do some vibe coding, and I work in SaaS, but I'm on the marketing side, sales and marketing side. But I do hear from a lot of software guys, and they're saying like, Mark, it's just so funny. Half of the guys I talk to are saying that this AI code writing is awesome. Guys that I respect too. These are not newbies. I respect them. They say that it's very good. It's not excellent, but it's very good. And then some guys are just like, it's all crap. It's worthless. It's useless. And I think that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. And I think that part of the problem comes down to the user of the tool. And I'm not going to say that, Claude and all these other AI tools or Cairo are perfect and they get it right every time. No, I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying is that there is a learning curve to using these tools right. Your prompts, the context, the validation and verification you put on the back end, the iteration. I mean, I think one of the problems that a lot of newbies have when it comes to AI is they set up their prompts, or they set up their memories, or they set up their skills, and then they're like, okay, I'm done. It's done. That's not it at all. If you get a bad response back from an AI bot, you got to go back in there and say, how can I tweak this to get the best response? How can I tweak this to get the most consistent response? This is the era that we're living in, guys. I don't know what to tell you. At least this is where my head is at. How can I keep improving and iterating? Okay, and I want to give you an example, because let's be clear. I'm not expecting anybody, whether they're a genius or a newbie, to pick up an AI tool and then it's just going to give them the best response day one. Like, the tool is not going to probably never going to be at the point where it's 100% of you, but as someone who is owned and run businesses, I realize that I can't hire anyone to be 100% of me. If I can hire someone that's 80% as good as me, then that's where I want to be at. And I do think that AI can get you to that magic 80% mark. But let's be clear too. When you're using a new tool, when you're learning something new, there is a learning curve there. And sometimes it requires you to take a step back in order to take a step forward. And I'm going to give you an example here outside of the coding world so everyone can understand. My daughter plays softball. She just started playing softball last year. She's in her second season now. And I remember when she came up to bat for her first time ever, ball gets pitched, she swings, she gets a hit. She gets on base. Her very first time at bat, she was really excited. But the form of her swing was not great. She was leaning too far forward. She wasn't keeping her weight on her back foot. She wasn't torquing herself properly. Her balance was off. Her swing needed work. Guys, this was her first time ever swinging in a game, okay? So over the course of the next several weeks, I worked with her, the coaches worked with her, we put her in batting cages, and we're tweaking her swing so she has more power, so that she can actually hit it out of the infield. She's not just hitting dribblers to shortstop or pitcher. Regardless, by working on her swing, she didn't get very many swings at all. So she went from getting a hit on her very first swing to striking out and missing and being late on the hit. It just wasn't coming through with her. And she was frustrated. Just like these coders are frustrated. However, by the end of the season, on her last at bat, she had the best hit of the season. She hit it into the outfield, her first time ever. And so what's my point here? My point here, guys, is that when you're learning a new tool, when you're learning a new technique, when you're learning a new swing style, you're gonna have to backtrack to go forward. I'll give you another example as I'm riffing on this, because I think this is an important concept. I'll give you a couple more examples actually. So stay with me. You want to get stronger? You got to go to work. You got to work out. You got to lift weights. Why? Because lifting the weights breaks down the muscles in the muscle fibers so they can be built back stronger. You're not going to be, you do 100 push-ups today, you're not going to be able to do 100 push-ups tomorrow. Okay? But in a few days after you've recovered and your body has learned and gotten better, you will do 120 push-ups, if that makes sense. I'll give you another example. You may know, have you seen that movie with Alex Honnold, Free Solo, where he's basically climbing this mountain, El Cap in California with no ropes? Insane movie. If you haven't seen it, by the way, insane. Definitely worth watching. It's riveting. So anyway, he's kind of, in this movie, he's charting out his path to get to the top. And there's a point where he's climbing up where he actually has to climb downwards. He has to go down the mountain in order to get over to a certain spot where he can ascend to the top. And I'm watching this with my son who's 6. He's like, what? Why is he climbing down the mountain, Dad? He was climbing up. Isn't he supposed to get to the top? Why does he have to climb down? It's because sometimes you have to descend in order to ascend. So I just lay up these examples, these similes, these analogies, because I think there's this misconception that you're going to be able to pop open Claude for the first time ever and you're going to be able to get a perfect 100% response and it's going to work perfectly. And if it doesn't, screw it, I'm out. Gary Vaynerchuk kind of talks about this with Facebook ads, right? A new business owner will try running Facebook ads on their business for the first time and they're like, oh, I didn't get any leads, I didn't get any new customers, it doesn't work. So Meta doesn't work. Meta ads just don't work. Why do people spend money on it? And that's the point I'm trying to make, okay? And that's the point I want to hammer home to these software developers. Like, just because you didn't get a response, a good response, a great response the first time, doesn't mean it's broken. It probably means that there's stuff that you can do better. Anyway, let's go back to some of the quotes here. And if you agree with me, type in the comments, hit the like, the sub, all that. So anyway, another woman at the company, Dina, says, quote, I and many of my colleagues don't feel it actually makes us that much faster. But from management, we are certainly getting messaging that we have to go faster and this will make us go faster. And this speed is our number one priority. A couple weeks after making, a week or two after making this message, she's fired, she's gone. And I think this highlights another problem that you have in organizations, which is a misalignment problem. If the company as a whole, if the organization as a whole, as the team as a whole, as the leadership says, this is what we want to achieve, this is our vision for the next quarter, 6 months, year, whatever, this is what we're going to do. If you're not on board, you can't work within that team. Have you ever played sports with someone who just doesn't want to pass the ball and they keep turning the ball over? It is miserable. You don't want that kind of person on your team. And in fact, I was reading, and we reported on this last year, there was a study, in a poll rather, that went out and they were interviewing and getting results from employees that work at organizations regarding AI. And in that poll, it was asking them, you know, how well are you adopting AI? And one of the answers on there was actively sabotaging AI efforts. Can you guess how many people are actively sabotaging AI efforts within their organization? The results of that poll estimated 31%. 1 in 3 employees were sabotaging the AI within the organization. So if you take an organization like Amazon, how many people do you think are inside the organization right now that are actively sabotaging the efforts to implement AI? I promise you it's not 0. And I'm not going to say that it's perfect. I'm not going to say that Dina or Denny or any of these other guys and girls are actively sabotaging efforts. Maybe they gave it a real go when they're frustrated. Maybe they have really good insights to management and management just won't listen. I've worked in corporate before, guys, and I know that there's politics that get played. I know that sometimes leadership doesn't want to listen because they know everything and you just shut up and put up. I get that. I've been in positions where the smartest people get held down because the supervisors don't want to be outshined. So I get all that. But there is some number of people within Amazon that is actively sabotaging AI efforts. Promise, bet. I don't have an exact number, but it is happening. So what does Amazon say? Amazon spokesperson Montana McLaughlin says, quote, while different employees may have different experiences, what we hear from the vast majority of our teams is that they're getting a lot of value out of the AI tools they use day to day. Again, that's my point. If only 1 out of 10, let's say it's just 1 out of 10, 1 out of 10 employees is sabotaging AI efforts, it destroys everything. You can't operate. And again, why is Amazon going through gutting tens of thousands of employees? You do the math. Another kind of point here is Maria, former product manager who was laid off from Amazon in January, said she questions asking her about her career or team shifted to one such as, are you using AI in your daily work? How often are you using it? Do you think that you're a power user? Or is AI a priority in your organization? Basically, leadership is trying to get a feel for, is she adapting the tools? And by the way, there is also this idea that, privacy is dead and we're entering this form of mass surveillance. And by the way, don't like it at all. That video, that commercial from the Super Bowl for Ring, where they're going to be having cameras on every door looking for dogs. Don't love it. Don't love it. However, there does need to be visibility within an organization from a leadership standpoint. And I'm going to give you a couple examples here as well. We've again, you guys, if you're subbed, you kind of know a little bit about me, but I'm, the marketing director for a SaaS company, amongst some other projects, but that's where most of my focus is these days. Getting into Claude Cowork, by the way, really like it, very cool. Maybe I'll put on a workshop or something, we'll see. But anyway, we've had problems in the organization with team members not want to be transparent about what they do. And it sucks. It's not great. We work remote, everyone's essentially remote, but we've had sales guys that refuse to make any notes in our CRM. They have a meeting, they won't note that the meeting actually happened. They obfuscate how many meetings they have, they obfuscate results. They won't record any of their meetings, even though we have a enterprise Fathom account, which allows us to see trends and reports, what's working in calls, what are the frequently asked questions, how is a salesperson doing, are they pitching, what percentage of the time are they talking, right? So they refuse to set these up. And then what happens is it leads to this insane lack in visibility into what our guys are doing. And they might be the best employees in the world, but we have no idea. In fact, one of the guys, it turns out, was actually selling his own courses to customers. So he's leveraging the tens and thousands of dollars that we're spending in generating new traffic and then just turning them into his own business. We don't love that. Don't love that. I'll give you another example. One of the programs that we're rolling out is answer engine optimization. And what does that mean? Well, basically, we want to generate more leads through large language models like ChatGPT. So when someone types in a problem to ChatGPT, our company shows up, they click, they come through, and we're generating leads, we're generating new subscriptions, it's scaling up, which is pretty cool. And part of that strategy is to have one of our employees go into Reddit and leave remarks, get upvotes, create posts, not actively promote our company, but mention it about 15 to 20% of the time. This dude refuses to report on any of his activity. Zero. I don't want to say this as a complainer, but as someone who's managing and trying to find causation and correlation in our blog efforts, in our Reddit efforts, in our SEO and directing, for him to be like, no, I don't know how many posts I made, I don't know how many replies I made, I don't know how many upvotes I made. Also, by the way, I need you to give me more money so I can do my job better. I'm like, bro, I don't even know what you've done. As far as I'm concerned, you have done zero, zilch, squat, because you refuse to report on any of it. You can't have employees like that, guys. And again, I'm not going to say that's exactly what's happening at Amazon, because there's a balance. Leadership needs to make sure that the employees and the team are all aligned for a number of different reasons. And the employees in the organization can't have that feeling that someone's looking over their shoulder every moment. I'll tell you what, I could not work at Amazon. There are definitely companies that I would not work at because I don't want that level of monitoring. I like to have my own, I'm my own businessman, I take on my own projects. I take on projects that I'm excited about. So anyway, I digress. I'm just trying to kind of look at what both sides are at. Because the reality, guys, is the truth is somewhere in the middle. At least that's been my experience in life. Yes, the AI can hallucinate. Yes, the AI will hallucinate. Yes, it's going to give you some wonky results. It's up to you to get better with the tools so you can increase and improve the quality of the results, the accuracy. And also, yes, some people are having great results in speeding up tremendously. And at the end of the day, what does this mean? Guys, there's so much money and so much time and so much effort being put into rolling out AI. It's an absurd amount. Amazon is committing, if I'm not mistaken, $200 billion into AI this upcoming year, okay? Not a small amount. And companies are committed to making this work. There is, and I'm not saying it's gonna be smooth, I'm not saying there's gonna be problems, but there are gonna be some people that figure it out and win. And I'm gonna be in that group of people. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be in that group of people. I'm not afraid to say when something's not working or something is choppy, for sure. That's important. But don't be in that camp that is anti-AI all the time. I just don't think that is a safe place to be. That's not where I'm gonna be. Anyway, guys, feel free to flame me in the comments, post up below. Would love to see it. If you like today's video, check out yesterday's video where we talk specifically about how AI is replacing attorneys right now. Not in the future, yes, right now. Attorneys are being replaced by AI. How, you might ask? You watch yesterday's video and find out exactly how and why you need to know. Okay, see you there. Peace.